Welcome back to Wisdom Rising. I'm your host, Christine Renee, and today I'm joined with Chantel Ochoa as we dive into embodied archetype work and really using some personal examples from our lives of how much they affect the way we personally grow and develop. And really excited for this conversation. We will be having Chantel's Soul Contracts and Alchemizing Archetypes Masterclass begins again on June 23rd through August 11th. We'll be having classes every Tuesday night, and we really think this is a great opportunity to dive in deep for clarity, purpose, and deep spiritual alignment. And I'm really excited for the conversation. You'll understand it in a moment. And also know that I am offering a Tantra-inspired shamanic retreat down in Austin on June 26th through the 28th. So I'll have that information in the show notes. So if you are interested in joining us for a women's retreat where we are going to be emotionally processing and diving deep into some shamanic cord cutting practices and embodiment practices and feminine activation practices, this retreat is for you. So that is coming up right around the corner. So I wanted to make a quick announcement here as well. We have one room left if you don't want to come camp out in the temple space. So I would love to fill that room if that's a calling for you. That's in about 1 month, and we hope to see you there. Please reach out if you have any questions and enjoy today's show. So today's conversation is on archetypes, living embodied. Like, how are we utilizing the archetypes to really understand ourselves and move from the victimhood and into our fully empowered embodiment of being? And Chantel is like the expert on this. I really loved the way she introduced me to archetypes, and it's been a passion of mine as well since. And Chantel's definitely taken the deeper dive road, really supporting not only herself, but many clients and our community and the archetypes. And I'm oftentimes out here hanging on the sidelines, cheering it on, because I'm like, I love this work. It's so good. And doing my own personal path with the archetypes. And I think this is a really great space for whether you're beginners or if you've been into spirituality for 20 plus years. Like, I think archetypes always allows you to dive into the interpersonal even deeper. There's always more layers to go because you're looking at it from a faceted lens, right? So I'm excited for the conversation. Thanks for being with me, Chantel.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're doing this one. And I know we've done a few. And so that when we were talking about YouTube, YouTube is a great place to go and get some of our past conversations on archetypes. But when you know your archetypes and you can recognize your patterns, you really can step in a more empowered way of living and having that different perspective. So it really raises your awareness, your consciousness. It helps you with really regulating your emotions because you're seeing how your traumas and how your experiences have really impeded on your life and emotionally, mentally, physically, all of it. And when you can recognize the archetypes, it's like, oh, I see you. And ultimately you're seeing yourself. They're a mirror reflection of who we are. And so it's a great thing to be able to walk this more empowered spiritual journey.
Well, and it's interesting. So I find myself constantly looking through this lens. And I really kind of want to bring up, like, if you were a crystal with all those different fractions, right? And you bring light into it, it's going to fraction out in different ways, right? And so it's different aspects of yourself that we all can hold. And there are so many different archetypes, and we can look at ourselves at these different angles. So as many of you know, I've been studying shamanic tantra, and I still keep coming and folding that in with the archetypes. So it's like, where's the prostitute at? Where's the saboteur in relationship with that? Where is the seductress? Where is the queen? Where is, like, all of these different feminine archetypes, and how does it relate to what I'm currently working on my own expansion in? Right.
Mhm.
And sometimes they're just really amazing journal prompts of, like, if you can look at your life through the lens of, let's say, the seductress, what connotations does it have? What light aspects does she bring? What negative aspects does she bring? The shadow aspect, like, all of these ways of like self-reflecting so that we can come to know ourselves better and really understand who we are and how can we love on all these different aspects and recognize their position in the fullness of who we are.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so important to know because when we recognize our patterns and we see them, like you're saying with that crystal and the having we're being fractured out, right? But it's the wholeness of ourself. So it's like you're seeing yourself in different versions and different images, right? And it's our behavior, it's the way we act, it's how we interact with people, it's how we respond, it's how we show up in the world. And so for me, it's like, yeah, like I want to know those parts of myself because I'm tired of working through all of the shadow without having the true like understanding of why that shadow is showing up. And so a lot of people they ask me like what is my biggest thing that I've taken from my spiritual journey? Like what have I learned? And I'm going to say soul contracts and archetypes have been probably the two top part of my spiritual journey because as soon as I understood what it meant to have archetypes in our life and to be able to see my patterns, that really empowered me to make the changes. And then those changes in turn create a change in my life in all areas. And even when I'm like having a situation that I'm being triggered by someone or something, I can be accountable to that.
Mhm.
And so I love it. It's just such a great spectrum to understand and to know, and it reclaims your own personal power. So
Right.
it's like I'm not just going to sit in victim and go, okay, like, yes, this happened, or this person's attacking me, or I'm going through this experience, or whatever. I get to sit in the eye of the storm instead of being in the center of the chaos and going, okay, now what do I do with all of this? I get to be the observer and go, yeah, I see this all happening around me, but I don't have to involve myself like I used to.
Yeah, I feel like this was the precursor to internal family systems when you view yourself as parts, right?
Yes.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I've just been really, I've been really like super deep diving into these aspects. And like last night, I had this really profound chakra dance that my partner basically specifically developed just for me and what I was working through. Like I had some crown chakra things going on, and it was really cool to be in this deep meditation, a movement meditation, where you could see yourself in all of these different aspects, parts, different archetypes. And at one point, it was even like you could see yourself in all of the stories of, let's say, the Egyptian myths, like all of the different characters in the gods and goddesses and how that makes up a family, and they're all their own archetype. You know, when you think of Set, you think of chaos. When you think of Isis, you might think empowered healer or mother or whatever it is. Like you have all of this vision. And so it's like, okay, there's all of these different ways that throughout history we have been programmed, I think, especially as women, to see ourselves and accept ourselves in all of these different aspects of who we are, right?
Yes.
Right. And so
Yes.
the mythology has given it to us. This is the hero's journey. This is, you know what I mean? It's like
It's all of it.
it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
It is. And so we can, and you can even see like in your own like nuclear family, see the spectrums of these archetypes within yourself. You are the mother, the father, the sister, the daughter, the all of it. And so, how are each one of them showing up? And that's a really easy way of looking at it. And we don't need to get all big into the saboteur and the victim and all that. Yes, that will come. But how are you showing up as the different roles in your life? And those are the archetypes that are developing you, that are shaping you and molding you as a person. And so it's like, yeah, I am the mother here, but I am this daughter and this sister, I'm the wife, and all these roles. And each one of them has their own archetypical pattern. And how are you showing up? And are you showing up in your shadow? Are you showing up in your light? Are you able to be the wife that can be nurturing and loving to your partner, or are you going to be the shadow wife that doesn't know how to nurture, that doesn't know how to show up, right? And it goes both ways. So there's that middle ground. When you know the healing that needs to happen, or you see your patterns, you can change it. Because it's just the awareness of, can I change it? I think I can, and I will. And you go do that work. But there's so many of them in every personality. There's a whole spectrum of them. So it is like you're throwing out different ones, like the goddess and the muse, and there's the um, I don't know, like the creator, and there is chaos, there is all of that. So how is it shaping our personality on a daily basis? And how can we see it so we can stop our own patterns?
Right? Or utilize the healthy patterns to support us
Mhm. To optimize
consciously
it.
creating, you know? So it's like this huge amount of self-awareness that comes through archetypal work.
Hmm.
And to see where you're at. And really, like when you sit in the archetype of going, I know that I have a fullness of myself, a fuller version of who I am. And I'm going to take this one aspect of me and hold it. So let's say the mother archetype, I'm holding the mother archetype. Here are the benefits of me embodying the mother archetype. This is what it means to me to be the mother archetype. And here are the shadow parts of me being the mother archetype. And maybe that shadow archetype of the mother is like, she feels trapped. She doesn't feel free. She always has responsibilities. Like, right? So many of us can relate to that. And when we can pause for a moment and go, this is just an aspect of ourselves. It isn't the fullness of who we are in reality. It's one part of us. And so then you can get into these other aspects of yourself and go, and this part feels free and alive and just outgoing. What archetype is that? And so there's a lot of different ways that I find that it's learning how to not just balance within the archetype, but to really go, what caused my the shadow part to come forward, and in exposing those shadow aspects and going, I hear you. Like just listening, like I hear you. Mothering can be really difficult. It can be very isolating in the culture that we live in. Like when we can give the reassurance to the shadow aspects, it's almost like they take a deep internal breath of going, oh, I'm finally been seen. I've been seen in my struggle. And then there's a whole new avenue of stepping forward of going, what patterns make this shadow element more alive, more what comes out of that? And is that something I want to perpetuate, or is that something that there's another aspect of me that can hold space for the suffering that is happening here? And then we bring in maybe the victim, we bring in the self-saboteur, we bring in these different elements to shine lights on each one of them to see how they are ready to grow.
Yeah. And evolve from that space of suffering. And so I like that example of like the mother who sits alone, right? Like we do at sometimes, like traditionally, I think there was more of a cultural of a like a tribe that, the women would all gather together and take care of children, and family members would do that. And then we became very like separate in our individual, like these are my children, those are your children, and we raise them individually. And that does become overwhelming. And then you have a lot of like young women. I was a teen mom, and so I know what it feels like to be in that, being 16, 17 years old, raising children. I was a baby myself, having babies. And so if you don't have a strong foundation of a support system, you really can lean more into that what about me energy, and I need support and I need love, and don't you see me over here struggling? And so it's witnessing that in ourselves and seeing that is more of the shadow. But yes, there is also, I can shine light on that and see the happy parts of being a mom,
Mhm.
and now like I'm a young grandmother. And so it's like in the moment, oh my gosh, like me being a young mom, I was like, oh my, life has already been written, right? I was a mother by 23 with 3 kids, but now I'm, in my 50s and I have no children to raise. My grandkids are already here. And it's like the spectrum of looking at it. And so when I am now like with my grandkids, it's a whole different thing. I get to be a different mother now, even though I'm not their mom. But now this is the other side of the spectrum of mother, of like this archetype gets to show up for me now and say, you can reparent yourself through this action with your grandchildren. You can show up as a stronger archetype, as a stronger matriarch in your family because of it.
Mhm.
Because I've done a lot of healing. I've done a lot of work. I'm older. I'm wiser, I have more patience. I think that comes with, when we talk about having children, you have more patience when you get older to sit with them and to nurture who they are. And so these archetypes really come in as these conscious layers of self and what is important for us as people and how do we connect with each other? How can we, the wiser, like more elder, woman, help the younger woman? Help them to stand in their strength as a mother when they're feeling overwhelmed and stressed out.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious of, is there one archetype you really enjoy working with for yourself or for your clients? And which one is like the one that you gravitate towards often?
Um, I tend to be more the witness, the observer archetype, um, because I really believe in detaching from like seeing our whole spectrum of self, like seeing our emotions, our reactions, like how can we stand in that? I really like that. I really am about the warrior. Like we are like literally like boots on the ground right now, right? And like it's kind of tough out there for a lot of people. And so I think that when they can see themselves as showing up as the warrior in themselves, as the one that can make the shifts, that can really empower themselves, when you give them this, it's almost like people are seeking like awareness of permission, like you got this, you can do this. Here you go. Here's all you need to know. And when people say, the power is in my hands, like I have it, they shift so fast because then they can start doing their self-love. They can start speaking their truth. They show up in their own sessions. They do the work in between. They can go and say, you know what, this job isn't in line with me anymore, and I want to go do this. So they start venturing out into different aspects of their life because they recognize that they have the power within themselves and it's not outside of themselves. And I think that we have given so much of our power away for so long that when you tell somebody, hey, look at this, check this out, you really are the one you're the co-creator, you're the one in control, you're the one in power of your own choices, people then step up to that. And that's what I see in my clients. And that's what I see with people when they do this work is they want to be empowered. They just didn't know that they could.
Right.
And
It's
now that
not an
you
option.
yeah, exactly. Like they didn't realize they had it. They're like, what are you talking about? And when you talk like that and you show up like that, they want to embody that too. They're
Right.
like, I want to do that. And I'm like, well, what you see in me is in you. So let's do it together. I'll walk with you. We'll mentor through this, And so it's really strong. It's powerful. So
Mhm.
yes, the warrior's mine. I'm going to claim that one. What about you?
Oh, let me think. I feel like I probably go back to very often the queen archetype because it's
Hmm.
kind of a foundational women archetype for myself. And and all of the, the victim, the saboteur, these other ones kind of reflect off of her, right? And so it's like
Yeah.
I remember it was a few years ago, like sitting in an office and doing some like, who is sitting in your throne, Christine? Like, you're not there. Who is sitting?
Yeah.
Who is, and it's like this little girl is taken over and like having her fit and like not being fully my war, like almost for you, it's like the warrior, the strong, empowered, like clear. And when I think of the queen, it is that sitting back, that like slightly leaned back, but like no one's gonna try you, no one's gonna step on your toes. There is a bit of recognizing that they're worthy of delegation, that they're worthy of like being the lead, and also seeing how often our media, our culture has made the queen out to be this really negative archetype. Like all Disney movies, it's the queen is the horrible person. And you watch all of these Disney movies and like all of those old ones were written by men.
Yeah,
You know what I
they
mean?
are.
So it was always the king, the benevolent king, and the hideous queen who is horrific and uh, malicious, and all these things. It's always like it. I think for me, I tend to gravitate towards to all of these women archetypes, whether it's the witch, whether it's the queen, whether it's the goddess. whether it's the prostitute, like all, like I feel really fascinated in all of the women's archetypes. And I think that's just where I am in my life. And I recognize that and seeing how she wants to play out. And I think part of it was I feel like I was kind of held, I was held in. I felt really bound during my marriage. Like I couldn't really fully be all that I was. Like I needed to hold in this one archetype of mother, the hold in the archetype, like in the mother aspect of being the micromanager, of getting all the shit done, doing everything for everyone, self people pleasing, self not denigrating, but like self-sacrificing. That mother archetype was
Mhm.
all that I had available to me, right? And
Yeah.
so since my divorce, it's like all of these other women-oriented archetypes have shown up. So I don't, it's not really like it's just the queen, it's like queen in relationship with, or
Yeah, because she represents so many more aspects of the feminine.
yeah,
You know, and so does like even going back to the warrior, you know, it's that feminine divine warrior. You know,
mhm,
it's not like the masculine warrior, you know,
right.
because when you can be the feminine warrior, you're able to really show up in your full power as a woman and say, I can do this. Can I be the father and the, you know, the masculine energy if you're a single mom or your husband is gone all the time? Well, yes, you can. But when you can be soft with yourself too, and know that you're able to show up in both ways, that is so beautiful. Because as women, I think that we've been stripped a lot of that. It's like we have this expectation that you can be the mother at home, you can go to work, you have to have the house clean, you have to be, you know, the lover, and you have to be, you know, the chauffeur and the one that does all the shopping and all the cooking. And there's so many jobs and titles that we have just in that one, that when you can say, yes, I can do all that, but I can also let you help me clean, and I can help you, you can come in and help cook. We can delegate, and we can also say, you know what, today is my day to take off and I'm going to go shopping. I'm going to go have lunch with friends. I'm going to go hang out. I'm going to do me today. And that is also part of being that feminine energy to say, no, I don't want to do it. I'm taking today off, you know, and it's okay to do that. And so it's like, it's funny because there's so many like jokes and memes and stuff out there where it's like the husband when he's sick, you know, and he's just like in bed all sick. And then the wife, when she's sick, she's got the kids and she's all runny nose and all these things. And it really is true in a lot of households. And I do feel that women are starting to step up into their own right and saying, okay, well, now we can be more partners in our life versus you're just going to work and coming home and I'm going to work and do the kids and the cooking and the cleaning and everything else, you can help me as well. Let's find that balance. And I really find that to be a great centerpiece or point for the warrior to show up for women right now,
Yeah.
because it's letting us say, I don't want to do it all.
And the warrior has these really clear, fierce boundaries,
Yes, they do.
right? And
Yes.
so it's those clear, fierce boundaries that really help empower what you don't want. Like it's hard to, it's, and maybe it's for me. It's hard for me to figure out what I want until I know where my boundaries are. Right. And so, like,
Mhm.
I need my fierce draw the line, I'm not available for this, to then go, okay, well, now I've created my container because I know where those lines are. Now, what do I desire within this? You know, and so it's this really
Yeah.
interesting dynamic of going, the warrior wants to be like the warrior, the way I see her kind of show up in my life is like, I'm really trying to create this energetic bodyguard kind of image, right? We're like,
Yeah.
she's kind of the doorkeeper. You know, she doesn't need to be armored up, ready for battle every day, but
No,
she needs to
no.
help me in my discernment of what situations I can let my guard down and which ones need to have her armor on. Like, I need that almost warrior type in a bodyguard sense that is on the back burner, that's just happening, that she knows where the lines are and she's going to protect them versus me always being on guard, ready, like um, so I can soften into my feminine because I know the bodyguard, the warrior feminine has got the boundaries taken care of.
Yeah, and that is how the archetypes are. They're these energetic beings, or, that we can't see them like that. Like,
Mhm.
can you see, like, I can give an example of, just recognizing in myself when I'm feeling triggered and, like, say the victim shows up, and I can literally go down, like, from the victim to the child to the warrior to, you connect them all. And when you can see how they're all playing out in your life and your personality in that moment, that is where you stand so strong and so tall, because you're like, you know what, I'm not gonna engage in that. I don't need to let myself explore all those deeper emotions in this moment just because somebody else feels like they need to trigger you or have and have a conversation that you're not ready for. It's like, it's funny because it's like, just because somebody feels offended doesn't mean that they're right.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean, like, just because you want to have the conversation doesn't mean I need to have it right now. But when you do feel pulled, and I just had this happen to me yesterday, when I felt pulled into some trigger response, and then I sat with it, and I'm like, why am I doing that? And I'm like, okay, because this one person will always trigger me. It's just, um, it's because of the relationship, and it's okay. So it's a mirror for me to look at myself, and it's an opportunity to say, did I really need to engage in that? No. So I did my apology and I did all of my taking accountability, because that's really what this is about. The
Mhm.
moment I recognize in myself that I'm being played, or that I'm allowing myself to play in an arena that no longer serves me, I can step out and say, it's okay. Let's take the different route. Let's take a different perspective. Let's talk differently. And then I go do that energy work with it versus like need to have a sit down, And
Yeah.
so knowing that the warrior really is about conscious action, right? And the victim is really about taking in those wounds and like, how did they affect your life, right? And so, do we want to sit in victimhood and say, why does this keep happening to me? Or you can stand in your own power and say, no, it doesn't have the power to control me anymore. I push that out into my beyond my auric field. It no longer serves, and that is a very beautiful, powerful place to be.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting how archetypes within us it's like in a way they evolve.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's how they grow with us, right? How we grow. And so when we can see it, it's like, um, I was having a conversation actually, and I'm like, well, you see that that's your saboteur, right? And, because she's like, I want to do this, I'm stepping over here and all this, and but that's the saboteur, because now there's excuses that are coming forward. So the moment, and I see this a lot, the moment that we are engaging in some desire that we want, right? So we're like, okay, I got this big download. I want to go do this. I'm going to take this class. I'm going to teach that. I'm going to put this out there. I'm going to create a retreat, whatever it is, right? And then you start backpedaling,
Mhm.
and all of the self-sabotaging behaviors show up, that imposter syndrome shows up, all the self-doubts, all the criticism, right? That is the saboteur, like, tapping on you, knocking on your door saying, hey, remember, you're not good enough to do this. Remember, there's failure behind that, and so it starts to play in on all of the deeper emotions that we have. So sit with that and recognize, you know what? No, you're not going to sabotage this for me. Why am I feeling this? What needs to come to the surface to be released, to be seen, to be felt? You start doing that work, and suddenly, you know what? No, that's when, you can step up and say, I am going to have this retreat. I am going to ask for that raise. I am going to go and embody myself in this way. And it's because you recognize how the patterns are showing up for you. Then you got the magician, and the magician is all about the magic. And yes, okay, we set that aside. Now let's go do the thing. Let's be the road opener. Let's go clear the path ahead. Let's know that we can go and collaborate with all these people, and everyone wants to gather. And we see the gathering. We've already visualized the gathering. We've already given gratitude and everything for the happenings, because we're now standing in our power of truth. And we've already said, no more of that. I recognize you, but it's okay now. I got this.
Right. Yeah, it's really interesting as you're talking about this recognition of where the self-saboteur comes in. And then having the awareness to recognize the difference between the saboteur and the one who has discernment.
Hmm.
Like there's some fine lines sometimes when you're like, well, was I just being pushed into the thing that I wanted, what I thought I wanted to do, but I actually don't want to do? It's just this, I'm trying to people please to match this person's energy and something that they want to do, but I don't really want to actually do the thing or not to the capacity that they want to do the thing. And this isn't self-sabotaging. This is my discernment showing up to say, I'm not available for that or whatever it is, right? Like it's really interesting how we can come into this. It's almost like a crafty play of going, time out, just time the fuck out. Like,
Yeah.
right? We need to step back and do a check-in of going, where's my energy at? What is it that I want? What is my biggest, grandest desire? And how am I acting from there? And then who is showing up? Is the pressure coming in for someone else's desire for you to do a thing and it's not actually authentically yours,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And that's how the prostitute shows up. So I love that you're using saboteur and discernment, but yes, the discernment and the prostitute is also right there because
Uh,
if you're in your own discernment and you're saying this really doesn't align with me, but I'm going to people please, I'm going to do it anyway. I want to say no, but I'm saying yes. There's your prostitute showing up because you're negotiating your own integrity, your own power, your own energy, and if we're not speaking up, then we are prostituting ourselves out. So we're
right,
saying, I'm going to serve this person's needs versus my own.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that I feel like she doesn't get enough attention, the prostitute,
No.
because this is the people pleasing. This is like, I'm going to manipulate the situation. Because she can also be very much a manipulator. I'm going to give you what you want in return for something else as a way of like control and power, but it's false.
Yes. It's that energetic exchange of, yeah, you're standing on somebody else's energy, but it is false energy because if you aren't saying yes, like a big capital yes to yourself, and you're giving to someone else, eventually that energy gets depleted within yourself.
Yeah,
You're not going to show up authentic in whatever it is that you're saying yes to.
right. Yeah, it's just really interesting because I've been working through a lot of these feminine archetypes very recently. And even this morning, I was thinking about how the prostitute showed up for me in this really um, kind of a dark, shadowy relationship I had when I was really young. And just totally recognized like she was the prostitute. I did anything he wanted and he would take care of me materialistically. Like I could have anything I wanted at any time as long as
Mhm.
I was like sexually available,
Available. Hmm.
right? To bend over backwards to his every need, right? And going now as like more in my queen state, I'm like, that was fucked up. You know what I mean? Like I have judgment about her. And at the same time, it's the timing of it is really interesting to kind of see the priestess archetype show up of right like the prostitute oftentimes is what we're lied to about the priestess work,
Hmm.
right? And so it's like how when the prostitute really fully comes into her light self, it's more of the priestess who is of service, but she's of service to the light, a higher, grander source of energy, and she's going to act through that for the betterment of everyone. So it's not a people pleasing; it's a servitude to the divine. And so the
Yeah.
source of energy shifts. And I had many years where I was a student midwife, where I was tending women and babies. And it was like, there were so many times now that I can look like I was the embodiment of the priestess. I was hand and foot taking care of these women and their labors and supporting them through their body transformation of giving birth, and how I was spiritually, emotionally, and physically there and present for them through the whole thing. Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't be more of a priestess than the temple keeper like that.
No, you can't. And that's what I think when we were talking about like maturity and wisdom coming through, even though you were young when you were doing that, you were already embodying that energy and that archetype. Whereas, like when you're talking about when the prostitute was showing up and how you were exchanging yourself for security and all of that, and then you have some kind of judgment that's coming through with the queen, it's not so much, I don't see it as judgment, it's awareness of where you were, and now you get to see the growth in what you've made. And now in the queen, you're going, I wouldn't do that now. But you can give love to that, right?
Yeah.
And give love to her and say you did what you needed to do at that time. And the thing is when we're young or when we get not even just young, because it happens at all ages,
Right.
but there are some major manipulators out there that can really zap our energy and take away our power when we're not standing sure-footed in our own self. And I think that's why a lot of people become victims of others is because they don't know that they can stand in their own truth and say, no, you don't get to do this. And I am going to say no to you and I'm going to walk away. But there's a lot of fear-based energy in that. And when somebody else comes in with a way more dominating archetype versus your own, that is, they can overpower you so quickly. And so know that, like, you don't know what people are walking with as their archetypes because there's hundreds of archetypes. We're working with the full spectrum of personality, right? And every archetype that's out there. And so if you have somebody else that's coming in that's like the narcissist or like that is even the like say like a murder archetype, right? So that kind of thing, right? That comes in but they're so aggressive and so like they're going to take everything from you and you're just over here like this little energy that you feel little because of what you're showing up with. That is so easy for someone to come in and just overpower you.
Yeah.
And so as we're rising up through our own maturity, our own wisdom, and our own knowledge, we get to come back and say, no, no more. And that energetic boundary is so powerful that it will kick them back.
Yeah, I know. And I really love that term maturing, right?
Mhm.
We're maturing ourselves. And I often love to put that word towards the chakras as well. Like sometimes we have immature aspects of our chakras and we're learning how to mature them, right? So it feels a lot, I don't know, softer than trying to fix or heal. Like that's not what this is about. It's like, how do you become the grandest version of who you are? You recognize all of these different aspects of who you are, all of these just different archetypes that show up for you and going, what's the light version of this? How can I really access my true nature and my true power and the wholeness of who I am through all these different facets?
Yeah. You know, one like when you're talking like that, the disruptor or even the destroyer, right? Each archetype has a light and a shadow. So in the shadow, the disruptor comes in and totally can demolish everything in your life, right? You yourself, we can go and demolish everything in our life. We can disrupt it. But in the light, the disruptor comes in to put you back on your true path. Like if we are not in alignment with our life and we're hanging out with the wrong people or we're making the wrong choices or whatever we're doing, the disruptors comes in to say, hey, I'm taking all this out, we're flattening this, and new people are showing up, new experiences are showing up. And that's what the disruptor comes and does. And we're seeing that playing out right now on a collective level, is there's this disruptor, this that's showing up and everything is coming to the surface because we need to see it. And so it's like actually the disruptors started coming in like I want to say like 5 years ago. 5, 6 years ago is when it really started showing up. And it's like, okay, what is currently happening now needs to be destroyed. And so everything has to collapse so the new can be rebuilt. And that's in ourselves as well. So if you see somebody that shows up in your world and you're like, oh, you got the disruptor archetype, that is such a big warning of like, heads up, what's going to change in your world? Because here it comes, that tower moment is showing up. Everything is going to start shifting. And again, are you standing in your own discernment, in your own way of witnessing what's happening versus involving yourself? And then when we involve ourselves, that's when we get in trouble. That's when we emotionally can no longer regulate ourselves or mentally and all of that. And then our four bodies are all out of whack, which four bodies is a great example too, because it's like we need to be balanced in all four, our mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical. And if any one of those bodies are out of whack or imbalanced, out of balance, it affects all of them. And so it's It's just seeing it. And it's for me, being able to view it like that, that's the witness is being able to see it happening. But I don't need to engage in that anymore.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
But sometimes it's tempting. We get pulled into it. And then it's like a reminder of why I don't want to be involved in certain things anymore. I'm like, I'm good. Learn that, been there, done that kind of energy, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's part of the process, right? I think that's the maturing. It's
Mhm.
the recognizing when the destroyer has shown up and it alchemized something that you can move into, right?
Yeah.
It is that tower moment. It is that like everything's got to fall so I can rise from the rubble. You know, I've definitely had those relationships where it's like everything is destroyed. I've hit rock bottom. There is only one way to go, and that is up. Right?
Yes.
And I don't regret those experiences. They were horrific and horrible, and they also made me who I am today, right? So it is that that warrior aspect, that really strong, clear, true, like I'm moving forward, and recognizing the types of players you pull into your life by the archetype that you're standing in, right? Like there's a part of magnetic attraction of like, if I'm here, who am I attracting? And
Yeah, that's that energy. The frequency matches frequency. Yeah. Whoever we are standing in right now, the energy that we are is going to attract the same kind of person. So really, if you're not liking something, then you look at yourself, that's where that change comes from.
mhm. Well, and I think too, like I'm thinking, I moving from my first husband, my second husband, it was like I was at my rock bottom, like things were not going well. And my first husband was very strong in his toxic masculine, and then I married a very feminine man, right? Because I was like, I need to be soft. Here's this soft person. He's never going to tell me what to do. He'll never raise his voice at me, right? And it's like this is where those soul contracts come in. It's like I gravitated towards him because I knew I could do the most healing of myself in this type of environment, right?
Yeah, because he offered you more of like a safer container to do that, knowing you're not going to be yelled at and told what to do.
And at some point you outgrow that,
Yeah.
right? Right? Like I
Yes.
don't need a soft container 100% of the time. Like like because then I became his mother. Like I was in a mothering role of taking care of all of the things, and because he wasn't a strong, dominant, like healthy masculine with healthy boundaries, I would overcompensate and I would be the masculine, right? And so it's like, it's really interesting to see how role dynamics show up with which archetypes are still in the necessary phase of maturing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And so seeing that pattern then, because now I know that you're no longer in that relationship. So now you're with a man that is giving you the balance to be the feminine. You can still be the masculine because you know the masculine energy is what helps us do our business. It's what helps us get out there, right? But the feminine can show up and be soft and really tweak it in your favor because you have a partner now that's balancing that out with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how I feel like I had my ex-husband and now with my current husband, it's a whole different role. And there are times where me and him, we teeter-totter on the masculine, feminine energy of where it's like, okay, you're being too dominating or too much. And then we balance each other out and recognize like that doesn't even serve us anymore. Like it doesn't, it's not healthy for our relationship when one of us is trying to over dominate the other because
Right.
we're both very strong personalities. So we
Yeah.
have to recognize in each other where the balance is. And it's interesting because even this weekend where I was teasing him, I'm like, look at so I had our cars detailed. And that's not typically something I go and set up and do, you know. But I did. I told him he was at work and I said, hey, I set up the cars or I have someone come in, they're gonna come detail the cars. And he was like, what? Really? So I am fully speaking his love language. I am like, yes, I want to do this for you. Your truck is a mess. I've been using your truck and I see it and it needs to be fully cleared out. Oh my gosh. So I'm back in the back of the truck and I'm pulling out bricks and all this like really masculine, heavy tool stuff. And I'm like, okay, but I'm doing this for him. And, I'm cleaning it out. And then the guy comes and totally does a great job on the truck. Well, because of what I did to him, he then had a beautiful bouquet of flowers sent to me. And I was like, look at us like like standing in our own like love languages and how I love you, you love me, and we're supporting each other because I'm doing something that really served him. And at the same time, he's feeling that love and compassion towards me. And it's like, okay, now I want to send this. And I just thought it was great. And when you take it to those archetypes that we can see each other, right? What do you need? And what do I need? And we're just matching each other. And that's what a healthy relationship looks like. And then at the same time, you can be triggered by some comment that wasn't meant to be taken wrong? And so you find that balance in between. And that is maturing. That is us growing. That is us evolving as humans.
Right, exactly. It's this accepting all of who you are and all of your different archetypes, and being able to have the conversation of, wow, my shadow really came out today, and owning it and having that dialogue. Like, I think that's where, like, for me, it's so much the communication piece of, can I be all of who I am?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think that's so part of it. Like, I think I've been in a lot of past relationships that only wanted different aspects of me, but not all of me. Right. And now I feel like I'm in a relationship that any of my archetypes are welcome to come out and play. And I can fully see them and communicate them and be recognized by them and going, this is what I need because this is where I'm at right now. And it not be this not thrown back at me for judgment, or for that I'm too emotional or too much or whatever, right? Like, there's this fullness of, I'm just gonna own it. Like, I'm a lot. I'm a lot. I go really deep. When I spiral, it's totally spiraling internally into my own different shadow aspects. And I am in the murky parts of it. And I have no problem like really self-reflecting constantly, And so it's like, can someone actually match that and be okay with how much I'm in my self-reflection role? And that's not where I'm always at, but like, there is a bit of like, if I can be all of this and I accept this person for all of who they are and all of their archetypes that show up, and honoring all of the work they've done to mature to this place in their life. And I
Yeah.
think that's a big part of it too for me, is like, I want to continue to grow and continue to mature and continue to grow together. And there's a lot of partners out in the world. I see them in my clients all the time, where it's like, one partner is ready to like go. They're developing, they're consciously creating, they're cultivating a life that they want to live, and they're growing through that. They're maturing through all of these processes. And the other partner is like, no, cool, I'm chill.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they're
I don't need
not
to grow.
interested.
I'm good.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just
Yeah.
like, and for some people, that is absolutely okay. I don't want to down on anyone's relationships. Like, if that works for you, fantastic. And I've always really desired to have a partner who would be able to walk with me on that journey, whatever it looked like, whether it was their growth, my growth, our growth together. And like, throw out things like, hey, I want to read this book. Will you read it with me? I want to have a conversation on this podcast. Will you do that with me? Like, whatever the growth avenue is, like, are they willing to meet me in that energy? And I
Yeah.
think
Can they
that's,
show up with it?
and they show up with it. Right. And I
Yeah.
think that's the huge highlight of my weekend, is like, I was in this really funky place. I've seen a trauma sex therapist. And after Fridays, I'm like, I'm really down on therapy right now, because I'm like, well, my bubbly, happy personality is going to go down the toilet in 12 hours or whatever it may be. Right. And then I go and I'm like, yep, it happened. Now I'm down in the shadowy parts again. And for Jim to like see and witness exactly where my little activation points were, and then he he went fully on his own. I wasn't asking for him to do anything of going, I'm going to develop a full meditation that like I have specifically know exactly what I think will help you. And it's not to heal me, it's not to fix me, it's not to change me, it's just to support me. Right. And that was like the most beautiful thing I think anyone's ever done for me.
Oh, yeah, that's
Right.
wonderful.
And he
Yeah.
like matched it to like the way I do meditations. Like, so I'm like, if anyone's done any of our meditations, I'm always talking about some meadow, right? He's got the meadow aspect. He's got all these aspects that are very much me. So it's like what that tells me is he's paying attention. He's paid attention for years of how I perceive spirituality,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
And that is so important. It's to really to surround ourselves up with people like that, to surround ourselves with people who are going to witness us, that want to see us, that pay attention to all the nuances of who we are and how it's like, how can they support us? How can we support others? And if we're all so self-focused and we're just in our own survival mode and we're not thriving in ourselves, it's really easy to miss what other people need. And it's really easy to miss the mark on, when somebody is having an issue or going through something, and you just make the trigger even worse, because and I think it's important for us to get to a place where we can recognize where everyone's at and show up in that way. And if we can't show up, then get out of the way. Let somebody else show up for them.
Yeah.
Don't try to be the rescuer. And that's one of the major archetypes too, is the wounded rescuer is a huge archetype where you just want to go and be the savior for everyone. Well, you know what? That's not our job. Our job is to support others and to witness where they are and to help them and to say, what do you need? And not be the one that has to go and rescue them just because you want to feel that. Because it's very ego driven. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm going to save you so I feel good about me. And it's
Right.
like, no, that doesn't work like that. And so it's asking yourself too, like, what are the archetypes here to teach you? Like, when they show up, what are you here to teach me right now in this moment? And that's the important part too, is recognizing and then paying attention to whatever messages come forward. And if it is saying, you know what, you're sitting in your ego too much and you're trying to, be the savior for everyone, for recognition or for your own, like bubble, your own anything, to feel like you did it. That's not right either, because what you're doing is you're taking from somebody else who might have their own ability to empower themselves. And
Yeah.
all they need is someone to listen, not to fix them, but
And
to
I think this is
listen.
why it's really important for the practitioners who are listening to this podcast to take the archetypes embodiment course that you do. Like, I really feel like there's so many spiritual practitioners out there that are still kind of, I'm not saying everyone, but there's definitely a thread of like, they don't even know they're doing it. They're such an empath. And so subconsciously, they've become an enabler. They've become the people
Yeah.
pleaser. They've become the rescuer. And as a practitioner, it's really important to really embody the witnesser, like like you've stated. Like, I can see what's going on here. I can hold space. I can create the container for the emotional work to do it, but I'm not doing it. I can't
Yeah,
heal
that's so
anybody,
important.
right? Like, they've got to do the work. And so it's really, I think doing archetype work is super supportive, not just in a short term little focus group, right? Like the 8 weeks that you're going to teach amazing foundations, but it's something that will continue on for a long time. Like, I think you exposed me to archetypes, what, 2+ years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And
And I was
literally,
exposed to them like 7 years, 8 years ago.
right.
Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
still, I walk with them every day.
Right. Like, I was
I,
journaling this morning on the Muse archetype. Like, I think it's like, and being visible and how do I want to be seen? And like, how is my inner muse want to come out? Like, I think that's my point. It's like, if you are interested in seeing your process as like an onion and you keep taking these layers off, you're never going to get bored. You're like,
no,
like that's it. Like, you're never like, it's not going to end because you are such a multifaceted individual with so many different internal aspects, parts, archetypes that you want to know who's running the show, this is the way to do it.
Yeah. So the 8 week archetype masterclass, it starts on January, June 23rd. It's Tuesday nights for 8 weeks. And we really do deep dive into this. So the first couple weeks is all about soul contracts. And so we map out your soul contracts, you see how they show up in your life. Soul contracts, and we didn't really get into it today, but that is such a huge awareness of where we come from too. When you know that your soul came in with a certain agenda in our life and we're living through that agenda, right? It's allowing ourselves as the personality, as our, to kind of get out of the way. Like recognize it, but know that if your soul gave you a certain agenda, a trauma, some experience to go through, it also gave you the tools to overcome it. And that is really important to know. So everything that you need is already in you to overcome every trauma that you've ever had, to overcome every bad relationship, every bad decision, everything. You just have to do the deep work to find that tool sometimes. And then the last 4 weeks is about working with each archetype. So we go through a pair of archetypes per week. So the first week is and the victim and the magician. No, 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 no. Sorry. The victim and the warrior, the sacred warrior. So we have the victim and the sacred warrior that partner up together. We work with both of those for the first week. You see how the victim's showing up, and then you alchemize it and you empower yourself in that sacred warrior. So you can really stand in your strength and your power with that. Then we move into the saboteur and the magician. So recognizing your self-sabotaging behaviors, your patterns, and then also how can you show up as the creator, as the magician, and make things happen for yourself, being that road opener. And then we go into the prostitute and the lover. So where are you exchanging yourself? Where are you selling yourself out? How are you really just being that like hole in the soul kind of thing where it's like you're gonna go people please and not like please yourself. So then the lover shows up so you can really do the deep inner work of self-love and nurturing, but then also offer it to others. And then we move into the child and being the sovereign one. So there's 6 different archetypes with the child. One will be your primary. You might tap into a few of them, but when the child archetype, when your inner child is taking the lead of your life and you find yourself tantruming and you find yourself making wrong decisions and you're doing all of that, we need to be in charge. We need to take the wheel back from our inner child and say no, and you can do that self-healing through this whole time. I also take you up to the upper world. You go and you meet them. You see their energetic charge. You see how they're showing up and the patterns that they have in your life. And then we have a whole week of integration. And so it is a very well-rounded like foundation to work with your archetypes, to see yourself, your own patterns. This has absolutely changed my life. And it's been something for me that I don't know if I would be exactly where I am right now if I didn't do this work when I did it. And if I didn't still embody it and recognize it and allow myself to see myself through these lenses. Because otherwise, I think I would probably still be in a victim state in a lot of ways. But I've learned how to alchemize them and to sit with myself and say, yeah, where are you messing up? Like enough. I can have that self-talk down and say, okay, enough, Chantel, done doing that. You've already done that. You've been there, done that. Let's move on. And I can stop those patterns from continuing to happen because they're always going to come back around. Until you have fully learned it, they're always going to show up in different faces, different places, different people. It's going to show up some way, somehow. So the more we do the work and the more we start releasing and healing and clearing it out, they don't show up as often. And when you do, you see them. You see that mask coming so fast, and you're like, not today. I don't got time today for that. So, yeah, so we start on the 23rd. So just a
Yeah.
few weeks away.
I love that. And I want to highlight that last point you just made is like when you recognize that they're part of who you are and their voices are getting loud, there's another part of you that says, hey, you don't need to step forward right now. Like it is okay. I've got this and you can take a back seat. And I think that's really important not to shame or reject or throw under the bus these different aspects that hold the fear, that hold these different parts of who we are that have helped us survive, right? Like it's that subconscious thing that comes to the surface when things happen, and know that there's another part of yourself that like, I got this. I know what I'm doing, right? And that's what we're cultivating, is that you can feel empowered and not get sidetracked or side quested by these shadow aspects that are used to playing their role.
Yeah, you get to learn who you are.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's what this is if you feel lost, if you feel like you don't know what your direction is, and you're just sitting with yourself going, what the heck is going on? And you don't know you, this is a great way to get to know who you really are and to see it and be like, shit, that's been showing up for how long, you know? So this is an invitation to get to know yourself deeper and to walk through that and to heal it and to alchemize it and to show up and be your warrior self and say, yeah, that no longer serves me and I can sidestep from that now.
Yes, absolutely. So if you're ready to be an embodied creator, a co-creatrix with the universe, and living a life with clarity, purpose, deep spiritual alignment, know that this Soul Contracts and Archetypes class is starting soon. You can check your show notes for the link. If you have any questions, please reach out to Chantel directly. Reach her on Facebook or Instagram, and we'll have her contact also in the show notes as well. But yeah, this is starting soon. I'm super happy for yet another round. I think this is the third round.
The third or fourth, yeah.
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 So
And
that just says,
I have students that are like, you know, that it changes their life.
yeah,
So it's like, and I love that with what we offer because we keep our most popular courses continuing. We just keep them going because we see the transformation that it creates in people's lives. And
absolutely.
it's something that it changes ours and then we bring it forward to help bring that transformation to everyone else.
Absolutely. And I think that part of that, to highlight is we've done it. We've moved
Yeah,
through it. We've embodied it. We've studied it. We focused on it, and then we bring it forward for our students, for our community, because we know if it's that transformational for us, that it's gonna do that for you as well. And it's about putting in the commitment. It's about putting in the time. And you it's like the more you give yourself to the focus, the more you're going to get out of the program. And
yeah,
it's so incredibly worth it, because it can be a game changer. It can be a life transformer. This can be the thing that alchemizes a lot of your shadow aspects. And are you ready for that change? Because I'm a yes, like, you know what I mean? Like, I can feel the yes. Like, I'm always like so growth oriented. I'm like, yes, I want to live so out loud that the things that used to be screaming at me to tell me to be small are now just whispers that I can just shoo away like a mosquito. That's what this type of work
right.
does.
It is. It's self-mastery. We are literally stepping into that master of self, not master of anyone else, but our own self. And this is how you do it. If you don't know how to do it yet and you're just looking for some way to get there, this is a great way to do it. And own your own mastery and know who you are so that no one else can take advantage of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you everyone so much for listening to today's Whispers of Wisdom. If you have questions, once again, reach out to Chantel, check the show notes, and we will see you next time. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.